If you have a desire to become a better version of your current self, then this podcast is for you. I share with you helpful thoughts, tips, and stories surrounding fitness and self-improvement which you can apply to your life today. So for those of you that want to take control of your life, to learn, to grow, to become that which you desire most, I am your host, Connor Malone, and this is the pursuit of constant improvement. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you my 4 pillars of health, the steps that I go through to help my clients get in the best shape of their life, and basically how you can take that and use it for yourself. So going into the new year, you have a plan, you have set things that you can follow to change your physique, get in the best shape of your life, but also improve your health. Because I'm making an assumption here, but if you're listening to this podcast, you probably care about not only your health, but the way you look, and you may want to change that. A lot of people always want to look better, and these are 4 principles that you can follow to do exactly that. Some of them you may already do, which is great, but I'm going to give you tips on how you can make them even better. So if you think like, oh, I already do those things, great, but there may be tips in here that can help you push forward with them and do them more efficiently, and inevitably just help you with your pursuit of constant improvement from your fitness side of things, from your health side of things from there. So yeah, this is what I use myself, my 4-pillar strategy. I call it like 4 pillars of health. I use it with all my clients to help them get incredible results. And the good thing about this is it's 4 pillars. There's not 10 things, 12, 15 things that you need to focus on. It's like from my perspective, if you follow these 4 things, you will achieve about 90% of all kind of like health benefits. You will, by following these 4 steps, you can get into the best shape of your life. You can lose a considerable amount of body fat. You can gain a considerable amount of muscle. It's really that simple, and these are the 4 things that you need to focus on. So if you're in a position where you don't really know what to focus on, this will give you really clear things that you can go and take away. You can suit them to yourself, and you can focus on them and get in the best shape of your life, and you can do that going into this new year from here. Now, again, these are rules for no matter what your kind of physique goals are, whether you want to lose body fat, you want to gain muscle, as long as you want to improve either of them, body recomp, whatever, you want to change your body composition, and you want to improve your health, these are the ways that I do it with myself and with all my clients. So again, there's four pillars, as I said. We don't have to have too many pillars or things that you focus on, because the more things we have to focus on in life, the more chances we have to fail. That's the one thing with goal setting and trying to achieve any goal that people overdo, is they set too many goals and expectations and things of themselves. Whereas if you keep it simple and you nail these fundamentals, you'll get better results than 99% of people really. Again, so whatever standards and goals you set yourself, focus only on them, nail them. That's when you add in new things if need be from here, because that's exactly how I use this process. I use these 4 pillars. Anybody that is more advanced and are absolutely crushing them, yes, then you can add in other things from there. But the very first one from here is controlling calorie intake. Now, first I'll explain why. If your goal is to lose body fat, you need to control your calorie intake. If you've heard of a calorie deficit before, that is when we're in a deficit of energy. That's how we lose body fat and inevitably change the way that we look. And for most people, you get into better shape through doing that. And again, there's different ways that we can control our calorie intake. If your goal is to build muscle, you also need to control your calorie intake. You need to eat a certain amount of calories in order to put on mass. Okay, so whatever our goal is, we need to control our calorie intake. If you want to maintain your weight, guess what? You need to control your calorie intake. So it can be used in either end of the kind of spectrum from there. Now, what I'm going to give you right now is tips on how you can do that. So again, you've probably heard of a calorie deficit. You know you need to be in a deficit of calories in order to lose body fat, or vice versa, be in a surplus to optimize muscle growth. But I'm going to give you ways in which you can do that. And the very first one is something that I use all the time, is using staples. Now, a staple is something that is stuck in your life and you do it all the time. You use it all the time. It doesn't tend to change. It's pretty rigid. Now, with nutritional staples, I have set foods, like staple foods. Like, you probably heard that before. Folks say like, oh, I've got these are my staples. I have staples. You should have them too. A very simple way I do that is for breakfast, 3 staples. For lunch, 3 staples. For dinner, 3 staples. Snacks, 3 staples. Pick 3 from each category. If you have breakfast, lunch and dinner and you have snacks, great. It's an easy way to do it. If you just have 2 meals a day, what time of the day are they? Make them staples for each of them there. Because what you're doing with this is you're making it clear what you can eat and what you shouldn't eat. So by staples, you might have like porridge for your breakfast. You might have a certain type of, I don't know, maybe a meal like eggs and bacon, whatever it happens to be, you set staples. So to control your calorie intake, look at that way. That's how my shopping list is made up. I have set things that I buy every week from the shops. And that is because I eat the same things all the time. And people look at it and think, oh, fuck, that must be boring. It's class. I'm eating stuff that I like all the time. Like what's better than that? Like it doesn't mean that they have to be specific foods. Like what allows you to be in, whether it's a calorie deficit or a surplus, what foods are good for that? Make them staples. Because the more that you leave up to chance, oh, buy this week, or buy this week, whatever, the more you're inviting potential inconsistency into your life, lack of clarity, lack of direction, and that's where mistakes happen. That's where you fall off your goals and your nutritional plan from there. So staples will help you keep to that. Again, they become a staple in your life. So you can look at that very simply, look at each meal you have, or if it's snacks, choose 3 things from each, and then just stick to them. So you can change them up every couple of days if you want, but you're not just guessing what you're going to have for every meal. You know what you're going to be eating every single week from there. After that, I mean, the main thing that I use to help people lose body fat is calorie tracking. Because to control calories, what better way to do it than to actually track what you eat? Now, you can lose body fat by reducing certain types of foods, like the ketogenic diet. They don't like carbohydrates. Weirdos. You've got the carnivore diet. They only eat meat, so it's relatively similar, but it's just more obviously meat-based stuff. Loads of different diets out there, right? They all do the same thing. They create a deficit of energy, a calorie deficit from there. Now, calorie tracking for me is one of the best ways for pretty much everybody. Like if you've got a phone, you use MyFitnessPal, you can track how many calories you're eating, you can weigh your foods, you can scan barcodes, and that allows you to actually know how much food you're putting into your body. So if you know how much you have to eat, you can easily do it from there. So again, that's one of the main ways that I would control my calorie intake, is by tracking calories. So if you've never done that before, it can be literally life-changing. So I would definitely get on that. With that as well, you can fast. These are probably the 2 biggest things I've seen in terms of the 2 most successful diets and ways of eating that I've seen from people that lose a significant amount of weight or gain the most amount of muscle. Not fasting for gaining muscle, more so just for losing body fat, but tracking calories. People that track calories well can gain mass well, and they can lose body fat well. Now, what fasting does is obviously a fast tends to go from one time to another. So you set a standard to yourself, right? I'm not going to eat till midday, and then I'm going to stop eating at 8 p.m. at night. So not only do you set standards for yourself and make it clear when to eat and when not to eat, you also reduce the amount of time you have to eat during the day. So if you get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you made a rule like, I'm not going to eat till 12 o'clock. I might be hungry, but I'm not going to do it. So what then happens is you probably get 2, maximum 3 meals within the day because you're busy with work or whatever. And it then means that we have less time, and that means we often eat less calories. So again, in experience with my clients, it is a really good way to control calorie intake. So if you've never tried fasting before, it can be a really good way to do it. I also use this as a technique if my clients are going out the weekend, if you're trying to stick to a deficit, or if you just don't want to put on weight from the weekend, or you don't want it to have as much of a negative influence, then fast in the morning. Just only eat 1 meal and 1 snack before you go out, or depending on what time you go out from there. And again, it's a really good one to follow from there. It's very important that I mention this now, that it doesn't really matter what diet you follow as long as you control your calorie intake. Like literally, it could be anything. If it helps you stick to your calorie target, then great, it's good for you. If it makes you feel good and you can do it consistently, you're a winner. So keep doing that. Don't listen to me or MD else who tells you what you're doing shit. Just keep going ahead with it. If it works for you, it's working well. I use a rule with tracking my calorie intake, with controlling my calorie intake, and it is the 80-20 rule. A lot of people use it, and it's that 80% of your foods should be decent foods, nutritious, whole foods, whatever you want to call them. The other 20%, you can be pretty flexible. Because if you're controlling your calorie intake, and the next one we're going to get onto exercising regularly, you can afford to eat 20% of not great foods, like sugary foods. So 1, your body's utilising them, and 2, you're getting sufficient nutrients from the other 80% of foods that you're eating. So don't think you can't eat, I don't know, a chocolate bar or this, you can't add this sauce or whatever to your meals. Of course you can. You can't add Nutella into your porridge because it's pure sugar. Listen, if you're eating most of your diet from nutrition substances or sources, then of course you can. Don't be stupid with that, because people try to restrict too many things, as I've spoken about before. When you restrict too many things, it makes it very difficult to actually achieve your goals and achieve any sustainable differences from there. Now, the next one, as I mentioned there, the second of the 4 pillars, and they're not in any order, by the way, they're just 4 pillars. The next one is regular weight training. Now, you may already be doing that, so don't think, oh fuck, I'm already doing this, so I'm not going to listen to them anymore. I'm going to show you how you can do it even more effectively. With weight training, you get the most bang for your buck than any other training in terms of the mental and the physical benefits that you get from it, in terms of how your muscles adapt to it and how your bones adapt to it. No other kind of exercise creates that stimulus in order to create those changes in your body. So it is something that you really need to be doing. If going into this year, you want to get into the best shape of your life, then you need to make resistance training a priority, especially if you want to grow muscle and have a kind of, whether it's a toned physique or a more large physique, then muscle growth comes from resistance training, so you need to make it a priority in your life there. But if it's just health that's your priority, still needs to be in there. As I said, you get more bang for your buck from resistance training than you do any other form of exercise from there. Now, I'm going to give you a few things that you can focus on. I'm not going to dig really deep into them. If you want to dig deeper onto them, I actually have one of the first episodes I brought out in the podcast was specifically about weight training for muscle growth. So you can go back and listen to that episode there. But again, what to focus on? Train 2 to 4 times per week is sufficient for most. So resistance train 2 to 4 times per week. That could be 2 full body sessions, or it could be 4 sessions. It could be upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body. You can go ahead and you can go forward with that one. From there, your 2 to 4 times per week, try to rest at least 48 hours before between sessions. So you're not just training like Monday, Tuesday. If you're doing 2 full body sessions, like give it a bit of time in between it. If you're training upper body, give it 48 hours at least before you train it again. If you're a beginner, you'll likely need longer from there. Now, things to make your resistance training, make sure it's optimal. If you're already resistance training, you need to tick these off the list to make sure that your sessions are going to be effective in order to get where you want to be. One of them is full range of motion. Make sure you're not going in there and you're not ego lifting. You're doing half of the reps. Like, it's not going to do anything for your muscles. It's not going to be anywhere near as effective. So drop the ego at the door. Make sure you're going full range of motion, which simply means you go all the way down and all the way up. So if it's in a squat, you go all the way down and then you go all the way up. You're not going halfway down and halfway up in order to lift more weights. You think, oh, more weight, more gains from there, because it's not the case. Full range of motion will help you out big time with that. The next one is one of the most important things that a lot of people are not doing when it comes to weight training to build muscle, and it is training close to failure. Muscles grow in response to a stimulus. Like, you think of a muscle, it doesn't know what you're doing. Your muscles can't count. They don't know that you're doing 10 reps. They don't know you're doing 20 reps. They don't know you're lifting a dumbbell or you're lifting a cable. They sense tension. And in order to create tension, which will then create a stimulus for it to grow, we need to train close to failure. So all of your sets must be taken at least close to failure. Doesn't mean you need to take them right up to failure, but towards the end of your sets, you need to be struggling to finish the rep. Okay, if the rep is slowing down on the way up, that is a good sign that you are getting close to failure from there. So make sure that all your sets are taken close to failure, if not to failure, towards the end of your workout, and you will make sure that you're having an effective workout from there. Another one that a lot of people don't think about, which makes resistance training so much more effective, is do exercises that give you a high degree of stability. Now, all that means is like a machine, for example. If you've got somewhere to put your back, you've got somewhere to put like your lower back, everything like that, and you're really in a strong position to then press or pull, whatever you're doing, that is going to help you put tension onto a muscle. Whereas if you're doing exercises that you're struggling with balance, you're struggling with stability, your technique's going, it's not going to do anything beneficial for you. So try to do exercises that put you in a more fixed position, a more stable position, and then those muscles that you're trying to work will be more under tension, and that can create more growth for them. So definitely make sure that's one of your focuses. The last focus with your weight training should be progressive overload. Of course, there's other things that you can focus on, but progressive overload will help you progress that tension that you're putting on a muscle. So if you go into the gym and you lift weights over your head and you lift, let's say, 10 kilos 10 times, okay, and you're training close to failure, you're going for a full range of motion, excellent. But let's say you go in next time and it's getting a little bit easier, you're getting further from failure, everything like that. Well, what you need to do is progressively overload. So you need to go up another rep, so more reps, or you need to add weight. Those are two good ways to do it. That'll create more tension and keep your muscles growing. So every time you're in the gym, try to progressively overload. Try to do one more rep than you did the time before. That's always a good way to look at it from there. Pillar number 3, good quality sleep. With relation to health, this is huge. Almost, I wouldn't quite say it's more than controlling like your calorie intake to then control your body fat levels, but it's almost up there. In fact, for a lot of people that are in semi-decent shape, getting good quality sleep is going to help you with your overall life so much, with your self-improvement, with your fitness, with everything, with your cognitive function, which is your brain function, with your physical function, like with how you move, how you act, how you respond to things, with your how hungry you are, like controlling your hunger levels, dopamine levels, all these things. Basically, we get more angry, we get more hungry, we get weaker, and we lose attention quicker if we don't get enough sleep. So you need to be getting sufficient sleep. Now, with sufficient sleep, it can be slightly individual, but for most people, it tends to be 7 to 8 hours per night. Some people can get away with 6. Very few people can get away with less than that. So don't think, oh, I'm one of those people. Believe me, if you're getting consistent sleep that's 6 or 7 hours and it's good quality sleep, or 8 hours of good quality sleep, you will feel better. You will perform better throughout the day than you would if you were getting 6 hours sleep. I guarantee it. So again, if you're getting 5 hours sleep a night, You may wake up in the morning, feel the exact same. I do that. I feel the exact same if I get 5 hours sleep or if I get 8 hours sleep. However, later in the day, my performance is much worse if I only get 5 hours sleep. And that can be with your attention, with your focus, with how strong you are, with how fast you respond to things. Maybe you can't control your anger as much. Maybe you're more hungry. And again, sleep will help you control all of these. So for getting into the best shape of your life and just doing better this year, sleep can be something to help you do that. Now, with sleep, there are some ways that you can improve it in terms of getting better. Because you might have heard, I mentioned good quality sleep. You're just lying in bed for 8 hours, but you're constantly waking up, you're constantly doing things. It's not going to be good quality sleep. Now, to have good quality sleep, what we can do is follow good sleep hygiene, which very simply means a few things. So it can mean sleeping in a cool room, because if you're roasting hot, you're going to wake up throughout the night. So again, make sure it's a relatively cool room. Make sure that it's pitch dark. Okay, if you've got light, it can disturb your sleep. If it's quiet, of course, that's going to be much better as well. So quiet, dark, relatively cool room. Those are your sleep hygiene things that will help you improve the quality of your sleep. I wear mouth tape. Again, it's in a very individual thing, but I've worn mouth tape for well over a year now, almost a year and a half actually. In January, I believe that'll be a year and a half that I've worn mouth tape. I don't wear it every single night, but I've wear it pretty much every single night to bed. It helps me breathe through my nose. If you breathe through your nose, it's a better quality of air that you get in. It's a better filtration system. There's so many benefits to it, so I'd highly recommend that. If you wake up in the middle of the night with dry mouth, try breathing through your nose and try using mouth tape from there. That will help you do it. But again, it's just a random wee one to add in there. I'm not telling you to go away and tape up your mouth at night. Just do it if you want. Next one is the 10-3-2-1 rule. So it's often the 3-2-1 rule, but there's also a 10 that you can add on to it to be a bit more of a little bit more complicated. Now the first one, 10, is for 10 hours before you go to bed. No caffeine. Now on average, again, this is an average, caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours, which means that let's say you consume 100 milligrams of caffeine, half of that caffeine will still be in your system 6 hours later. So if you have a cup of coffee at 3 o'clock and it's got 100 milligrams of caffeine, at 9 o'clock there'll be 50 milligrams of caffeine still in your system. Again, this rule says 10 hours, not 12, so it's kind of, it can change a little bit, but from there. So if you stop consuming caffeine 10 hours before, that's a really good thing to go off of. You might feel like, oh, it doesn't affect me, I can get to sleep fine. Yes, you likely do. However, it can affect the quality of your sleep, your ability to get into deep sleep and things like that. So make sure that you try to avoid that if possible. The 3 stands for no more food, so no more food 3 hours before bed. Again, if you eat close to bed, it can then, obviously your digestive system's working and it can wake you up throughout the night, so you get a less good quality sleep. No more work 2 hours before, because if you're stressing yourself out and you're thinking of all these things, I'm bad for this, working right up till I go to sleep, your mind's overactive, you kind of struggle to wind down from there, and it can affect your quality of sleep and your ability to experience deep sleep. The next one is no more screen time, 1 hour before bed. I would probably guess that at least 95% of people listening to this, including me, have been on their phone or watched TV at least an hour before bed. Now, it sounds like a small thing, but the blue light emission that we get from it into our eyes and our brain and everything, it really does affect the quality of sleep. So if you want to take your sleep seriously, then getting off of your phone an hour before bed can really help with that. It also helps just quiet down your mind. You're not thinking about things. You're not comparing yourself to others on social media and looking at all these things and getting all these dopamine spikes. Try reading a book, try speaking to somebody, I don't know, do what you like, just don't go on your phone. That's a really good thing to do. One thing, I've been doing this with a lot of clients recently, rather than going from not going on your phone at all straight to just going to bed, which is really difficult, and like reading a book, most people aren't going to do that. Rather than going on your phone, watch TV. That sounds, you're like, right, it's the same thing, it's a screen, which yes, I agree. However, if you're watching TV, depending on what you're watching, a lot of the time it's not giving you that same kind of dopamine release. And what I mean by that is most of us, including you listening, you probably scroll down your reels or your TikToks before you go to bed. If you do that, you're constantly seeing new things and things are popping out of you and everything like that. So you're going to get these constant kind of crashes and spikes, and dopamine and your attention span is going to be firing all the time. Whereas if it's TV, it's something more consistent. You can kind of expect what's happening and things like that. And then it could help you kind of lower down a little bit rather than constantly being kind of activated, if you like, your mind by these reels and things, just the way they're structured, because it's short form content as we call it. So yeah, definitely something to focus on. So that's your 10-3-2-1 rule from there. Now the last of the 4 pillars is high protein intake, because it supports all other things. It supports our recovery. It supports in terms of our overall health. If we are not consuming sufficient protein, you're not going to build muscle. You're going to almost be malnourished. The position your health is going to be in is not going to be great. So in terms of your protein, as I said, it's essential for recovery. It's essential for growing muscle. So if that's one of your goals, whether it's to become more toned or to get bigger, then you need to be eating more protein. There's a very good, like people say 1 gram per pound of body weight is a decent one. 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight is a good one. So if you weigh 170 pounds, roughly 170 grams is decent of grams of protein per day, but it can also be a little bit less. But again, that's just a rough figure for you to go with from there. But make sure your protein intake is high, because if you're resistance training and it's not high, in fact, generally in life, if it's not high, your muscles and everything are going to degrade, which we do not want. A lot of disease comes from that, and in general, you're not going to build muscle. Another interesting thing with protein is if you're trying to lose body fat, it's been proven to be more satiating, which means it keeps you fuller for longer when compared to carbs and fats. So if you have a meal that's high in protein, it can help you feel fuller for longer. Another thing that a lot of people don't know is it has a higher, what we call thermic effect of food. Now, there's 4 ways in which our body can burn calories. One of them is the thermic effect of food. Well, there's technically 3, but we'll leave it 4. So again, the thermic effect of food is essentially when we eat food, your body has to use energy to digest that. So let's say I had to have 100 calories worth of carbohydrates in the form of pasta or something like that. My body will need to use an extra 10% of calories, so that would be 10 calories in this case, to then break down that food and then utilize it. Whereas with protein, it is higher. It's been shown to be between like 20 and 30% of a thermic effect, which means that if you consume 100 calories worth of protein, let's say it's in the form of chicken, your body would then need to burn roughly 20 or 30 calories to then break that down. So you can see how if you're trying to create a calorie deficit, this could help in multiple ways. So it's definitely something, it's a very small thing, but it is something to keep in mind from there. So higher protein diet is going to help with pretty much anybody that's trying to improve not only their fitness, their self-improvement, but any of those types of things there. Now, to summarize today's episode, the 4 pillars, what they are, again, is what I use in my daily life. It's what I've used with all my clients to help them get incredible results. It is controlling your calorie intake, resistance training regularly, getting good quality sleep consistently, and eating sufficient protein. Those 4 things, if you focus on those 4 things and you nail them, I almost guarantee you will get into the best shape of your life. So if you're going into this year and that's a goal of yours and you want pillars and things to focus on, you can focus on those things there. Again, if you start to nail those 4 things, that's when you start to add in other things. You start to focus on other things. But for me, you'll get 90% of your results at least through focusing on those 4 pillars from there. So you can take that from there and go ahead and do that. Now, a wee sneak peek, I have a challenge that is launching in January. This is going to be really good for people that are interested in their fitness and self-improvement, getting into the best shape of their life, creating a routine they can be proud of. It's going to be completely free. I'm not going to give you any more of the details. However, in January, if you go onto my profile on Instagram, you'll be able to see it there. I'm going to be posting about it towards the end of December. So again, keep your eyes peeled for that. If you're interested in it already, drop me a DM. Just ask me about it. What's this challenge you're talking about? It's the Pursuit of Constant Improvement Challenge. I'm going to be releasing much more details on it, and you'll be able to find that again on my Instagram page, which is Connor Malone PT. So if you want more information on that ahead of time, I'll let you know. Just drop me a DM. If not, you can wait until closer to the time, and you might find it's perfect for you, and it's completely free. But apart from that, I'm going to leave you with a quote, as we always do for today's episode. This is a very short one of my favourite quotes, which I'm almost 100% confident I've mentioned on this podcast before, because it is one of my favourites. And it's very simply, a healthy man wants 1,000 things, a sick man wants only one. And that one thing is his health. Because we often get caught up, whether it's in the pursuit of improvement, just generally in our lives, whether you're a young person or not, you get caught up in life and think, oh, I always want this. You have so many desires. I want this, I want that. Or when I get this, I'll be happy. When I get this, everything would be stripped back if you were not well, if you were in bad health. So by following these 4 pillars, you can optimize your health, you can start to live a better life, and then you can put focus into your self-improvement from that. So always remember that. A healthy man wants 1,000 things. Most of us are healthy listening to this, but if you do become sick, you will only want one thing, and that will be your health. So make sure you cherish it today and you make it a priority in your life, especially going into this new year coming up. Now, as ever, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I hope you can take bits of this, if not all of this 4 pillars, and apply it to your life for your own fitness, your own self-improvement from there. But yeah, I can't say any more. Thank you for listening today, and I hope you continue with your own pursuit of constant improvement.